Study section 5. Characteristics of the lifespan perspective. Introduction. Development is influenced both by biological factors and environmental factors. Both of these factors play major roles in the development of personality. Objectives. At the end of this lecture, you should be able to 1. The influence of biological factors on development, and 2. The impact of environment on development of personality. Contents. Major issues in developmental psychology. Some of the major issues that pervade developmental psychology are: 1. How much is our development influenced by our genetics, inheritance, and how much by our experience? 2. Is development a gradual, continuous process, or does it proceed through a sequence of separate stages? 3. Do our individual traits persist, or do we become different persons as we age? Nature, nurture. Our genes are the biochemical units of heredity that make each of us a distinctive human being. Our individual genetics, makeups, explain why one person is outgoing, another shy, or why one person is slow-witted and another smart. The question like this raises an issue of profound importance. Are we more influenced by our genes or by our experience? Or how much of an individual's development is due to nature and how much to nurture? Our answers affect how we view certain social policies. If we presume that people are the way they are by nature, you will probably not have much faith in programs that try to rehabilitate prisoners or compensate for educational disadvantage. And you will probably agree with developmental psychologists that emphasize the influence of our genes. Our genes design an orderly sequence of biological growth processes called maturation. Maturation decreases many of our commonalities. Standing before, waking, using nouns before adjectives, while extreme deprivation or abuse will retard development. The genetic growth tendencies are inherent. If you take the nurture side of the debate, you probably will agree with the developmentalists who emphasize external influences. As a potter shapes a lump of clay, our experiences are presumed to shape us. This view was argued by an earlier philosopher, John Locke, who proposed that at birth, the child in some ways is an empty page on which experience writes its story. Although few wholeheartedly support Locke's proposition, research provides many examples of nurture's effects. In reality, nearly everyone agrees that our behaviors are a product of the interaction of 1. Our genes, 2. Our past experience, and 3. The present situation to which we are responding. Moreover, these factors sometimes interact. Typically, developmental psychologists are interested in looking at how these factors interact rather than trying to decide which is more important. Continuity, discontinuity. This is similar to the idea of punctuated equilibrium, but here the question is, does human development occur gradually or occurs in a series of breakthroughs? People who believe that development is a series of stages that people have to walk through would be in the discontinuity camp. Generally speaking, researchers that emphasize experience and learning tend to see development as a slow, continuous shaping process. Those who emphasize biological maturation tend to see development as a sequence of genetically predetermined stages or steps. They believe that depending on an individual's heredity and experiences, progress through the various stages may be quick or slow, but everyone passes through the same stages in the same order. They believe that depending on an individual's heredity and experiences, progress through the various stages may be quick or slow, but everyone passes through the same stages in the same order. Quantitative, qualitative change. Quantitative changes are changes by degree. For example, little Ernest knows his 2 times multiplication table today and his 3 times multiplication table tomorrow. Little changes in multiplication ability. Qualitative changes are changes in kind. So, little Ernest can do the 2 times multiplication today, but tomorrow he can do 3 variable calculi. As you might imagine, continuity theories tend to argue that development is quantitative, and discontinuity theories tend to argue that development is qualitative. They suggest that people regularly undergo dramatic, qualitative changes in their abilities or person. Universality, particularity. Does everyone go through the same developmental processes, or stages, or aspects? Or does development vary across people and cultures? Although people seem to develop abilities at approximately the same age, this view has been called too simplistic. Cultural differences, as well as family differences, may influence development. Development may be much more multifaceted. Stability or change. Psychologists have taken the position that once a person's personality is formed, it hardens and usually remains set for life. The question are, is development characterized more by stability over time or by change? Do the differences among classmates in, say, aggressiveness, aptitude, or striving for achievements persist throughout the lifespan? In short, to what extent do we grow to be merely older versions of our early selves, and to what degree do we become new persons? Most of developmentalists today believe that for certain traits, such as basic temperaments, there is an underlying continuity, especially in the years following early childhood. Most of developmentalists today believe that for certain traits, such as basic temperaments, there is an underlying continuity, especially in the years following early childhood. Yet, as age, we also change physically, cognitively, and socially. Today, we have today's lifespan view. Human development is a lifelong process. Critical periods. The idea of critical periods is linked to these major issues. A critical period is an age during which the individual has to develop a skill, or that skill will never be developed. Conrad Lorenz did several studies on imputing in birds, which is the name of the process where birds learn that the first thing they see when they open their eyes is their mother. That is, they imprint on the first thing they see and take that to be their mother. Do people have critical periods? Not exactly, but sort of. 1. People seem to have sensitive period for developing language, at least. One case is that of Victor, the white boy of Aveyron, who was found in 1798 near Aveyron, France. Victor had been raised by wolves, apparently, and he seems to be about 12 years of age. He was able to learn many of the things that were taught to him, but language was a problem. He seems to understand language, but did not develop much ability to produce language. 2. Jenny was a similar story. Jenny was kept in confinement by her father from the age of 1 to age 13. During that time, she had been physically abused by her father and was not allowed to develop normally. Nor did she have any language skills. After being discovered, she was able to make great gains in learning and did acquire some language skills. However, She didn't learn the full range of language skills that a normal person does. Jenny learned language up to the level approximately of a 3 or 4-year-old, but no further. The experiences of Jenny and Victor suggest that the ability to learn language has some limits. Although the limits are not as cut and dried as the prototypical imprinting situation, they were able to learn some language, but not anywhere near their contemporaries. Of course, there are problems with making conclusions based on these cases, because they did not only have a lack of language in their lives, they lacked social interaction with other people. They may have been malnourished, and certainly for Jenny, there was a lack of physical stimulations as well. Those factors could also have hampered this individual's ability to learn language. Other evidence about a critical period for language learning comes from research on second language learning. People who learn a second language later in life do not seem to be able to learn it as well as a native speaker. The time for developing a second language ability that is as good as a native speaker is up to about 12 or 13 years old. So, if you're interested in speaking Swahili and you have not started yet, you probably will never be able to speak it as well as a native Swahili speaker. However, let me emphasize here that although you cannot speak it as well as a native speaker, you can become literate in another language and learn to speak it quite well. You simply won't be able to speak it as well as your native tongue, or as well as someone whose native tongue it is. Post-test. 1. How much do biological factors contribute to development? 2. How much do environmental factors contribute to development? End of study section 5. Thanks for listening.